And God said from that above realm, let there be life. Now they say there was a big bang. Well, I can think it was a bang. Can you imagine? Because John 1 says, he says, in him was life, and the life was the light. God exploded on the earth. And because of that life explosion, oh my word, creation was possible. And we read in Genesis 2 how God actually did it. He said he planted a garden. And in Genesis 1, he explains the realms he did. And we know that the realms was the preparation for the earth to be filled. And Genesis 1 is literally the DNA of time. So what God did, when he said, light, he created day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, rest. Meaning, 7, meaning it's God's number. 4 is the earth, earthy. There are 4 realms. Spirit, heaven, earth, and beneath the earth. There are 4 of everything. 4 is always earthy, and 3 is godly. So 7 days means it's the full time that God's going to work. And he says the end is determined from the beginning. So he had all his guarantees in place, and he shows us what it happens. So what is so awesome in Genesis 2, he says, first, God planted a garden eastward in Eden. This is how he did it. He planted a garden eastward in Eden. East means first, Eden means pleasure, and garden is a bride. So it was God, the Spirit of the Son, and the bride coming out of the Son. And this is the way he did it. He did it in realms. And it was so set up that it was also the guarantees that whatever happens, God is going to do what he has planned, because he counted the cost before he built a tower. Now, how he did it in Genesis 2 is amazing. We know that day 1, it was light. Day 2, it was water from water. Day 3, it was land and sea and plants. Now he comes in Genesis 2. He says, before there was plants, before there was vegetation, before there was herbs, when was that? Day 3. Day 3. Then he says, before there was a flood. When was that? Noah. So in one verse, he speaks about the creation day, which had 7 days, and he brings us into the generations of time where we find the flood. And then he says, before there was a man to till the ground. So what he actually does, he takes us back to where did all this started? In other words, where did the creation day DNA went down into time? And that is when man tilled the ground. So you can literally say day 3 was correlation with David, because David came in and said, I am a tree planted by the river. I'm replanted in Eden. And day 2 was water separated from water. That is the calling of Abraham. He said, in your seed after you and in your seed in their generations. And we know it's all on earth, but it's a realm that has come in. So it's another type of heaven. And we know that the flood was there. And you can literally go through Genesis. Day 1 was when the flood was. It was a new beginning. Day 2 was Abram. It was a heaven that started. We had the sun and the moon and the stars as the heavenly elements. That's why in the cross, the sun was taken out, the moon was taken out, the stars was taken out. And this was the vision that Joseph had. And day 3, it was David. So if you look at the genealogy of Jesus, it was the preparation of the body. There was the first man, Adam. He was taken out and there was a new beginning. Then it was Jesus, the son of David, the son of Abraham, the son of God. And we have all this genealogy realms coming up. And when Jesus came, he brought a whole new realm, a light day. And he says, there is now just one generation, the chosen generation, because you have not chosen me, I have chosen you. And if you believe, you receive that genealogy line. So why would you stay in the rest? This is why you got to forget what's behind and get going in the Spirit. He says, wake up to the Spirit. But now we've got to back off a little, because I told you in the beginning that there's 4 realms: the spirit realm, the heavenly realm, the earthly realm, and then the realm beneath. Now we have to look at the earth, because in the earth, everything, there's 4 different realms on the earth. And I've just mentioned some of them, and you find that in Genesis 1. So let's look at them. In Genesis 1, it says, come on, let there be light. And what did he do? Immediately, God saw that the light was good. God spoke his light on earth, but there was darkness. And the first thing he did, he brought division. And now the divisions come on earth. Remember, he set realms. Now the divisions is forming other realms. And he said, he divided light from darkness. And of course, what is so awesome is when you read it in John 1, he says, darkness will never overshadow light. This is why it's there. And please note, from this point, he never mentions darkness again in Genesis. Everything was created in this life realm, meaning God intends for us to live eternal. He doesn't want you to die. He doesn't want you to be sick. He created you in perfection. He took so much time to prepare this realm of perfection right here on earth, so that we can have like toothpaste and gold. And it took billions and billions of years and to get us here. And here we are. And man smashed it up on one day by not believing. Believing, the only sin you can really have is disbelieving. So now he says he divided light from day, and he calls light day, and he calls darkness night. This is a foreshadow of what is going to happen when time comes. Because remember, he created us in the light realm, and he never turned to darkness. So why would he call it day and night? Your whole life is spent in day and night. We've just come out of a night, we're in a day, and we're going for another night. It's day and night, up and down, up and down. This is the natural line. So he is literally dividing the realms in preview of what's coming. And it was evening and morning the first day. There were 7 days. Every day had an evening and a morning. But evening and morning is also a realm. If you just go look at early in the morning, everything around Christ, early in the morning, especially the 3rd day, early in the morning was the first day of the week. The 3rd day was the first day of the week. Early in the morning, they went to the grave, and he was not there, and he appeared. What did he do? He started the new day. It was evening and morning. Our days, we count it as day and night. But God's realm starts with evening and morning. He makes everything, and then it's a day. He makes everything, and then it's a day. So these are all realms and previews of what is coming. And God said, let there be a firmament, verse 6, a firmament, which is a heavenly space in the midst of the waters, and let him divide the waters from waters. What is that? But Abraham's calling. It is a new heaven, because you must remember, he said his glory is above the heavens, above thrones, above principalities, heavens. Now here is the second heaven. What is a heaven? Every world has a place where authority comes from and a place where authority is exerted. So the first world had a heavenly realm where the Spirit of God spoke to man. He spoke, come on, Job, and the sons of God came, and God himself spoke to the sons that came before him, and Satan was between them, deceiving, accusing. He's always in this heavenly realm accusing the brethren. But what happened on the cross is God created another realm where Satan was finally cast out of heaven, and he had to come down to earth and he had to deal with everything on the earth. That's why we have that 40 years. He says in Revelation 12, he says, woe to the earth, because Satan is cast down to you, and he knows he has a short time, and he's walking around like a roaring lion trying to devour, because he was still dealing with that old world. We're not dealing with Satan. Jesus conquered him on the cross. It's got nothing to do with us. He was defeated there. And all of this is in Genesis 1. In Genesis 1, he divided the waters from the waters. Because why? In time, they now messed it up. In the garden, the water came. There was one river from Eden. Eden is the spiritual realm of perfection. It's not heaven, it's Eden. It came down. And the tree of life, there's a word that you interpret with the tree of life that says it is flowing. I really believe that the river came out of the tree, because spiritual, please get it. In Revelation, he says, out of the throne and out of the Lamb comes the river. And on both sides of the river is the tree of life. What does it mean that the river is coming out of the tree? We're back in the garden. So that river was stopped with a sword because the tree of life was blocked. And now there is a new heaven that will be as a preparation. And the waters were separated from the waters. And so what happened? The waters were separated from the waters, but in Christ, those waters came down. And the city was full of streams. And the waters is ankle deep, knee deep, thigh deep, and shoulder deep. Waters to swim in. Why would you sit next to the river and say, I don't swim today? You know what? If you find anybody like that, just push him in. Because it is exactly like the people that went to Babylon. He said, it's for your good I'm taking you to Babylon, because it's going to purify you. But they were sitting next to the rivers of Babylon. They wouldn't sing God's song. But Ezekiel was in Babylon next to the river Chebar, and the heavens opened up. He saw what was happening in the heavens. Please, we must understand what is spiritual realm and what is heavenly realm. And Jeremiah, Daniel, these guys were all next to the rivers in Babylon, but the people wouldn't take it. So if you find anybody in this awesome realm of the day that Christ brought in, and they're sitting next to the river, they don't want to swim, just push them in. It's like plucking them from the fire if you push them in the water. Get it? So now comes the main heavenly realm that was formed. And it was literally a division between literally evening and morning, night and day. And that was when Christ came into the world. In the fullness of time, 7 days of creation. The middle is 4. It's the climax of the ages. It's in the middle of the last week of Daniel, in the middle of time. God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law. A woman, oh my gosh, she was the lowest of lowest. And the law was that condemned that system. And on the earth, this is where darkness came in. He said, when Jesus came, the people that sat in darkness saw a light. This is what Adam did. He lost the glory, light, in perfection, and he went down to this realm. In other words, the light in him became blood life. So Jesus came into this formless. He had to be born a human being because he had to have blood. He had to offer this blood. He became dark and void, and he took all the sins. He became like that snake in the desert. He was lifted up, and all the sin was drawn to him. Oh my word, this is why he says, I have not come to condemn. This is the condemnation. Light has come in, and you choose darkness. But now he says here, this was the true light. John 1:9. This was the true light which lightened every man that comes into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him. and the world knew him not. And he came to his own did not receive him. They killed him. But as many as received him, to him gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which are born not of blood. Oh my word, guys, if you're born again, you are not in your bloodline. So much for bloodline curses. You know what? He says, the Old Testament, he says you will be cursed up to your 4th generation. There was 4 generations before Christ. We in the new generation. We in the generation of Christ. You are not born of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. You know what that means? You are born in the Spirit. You are born of the Spirit. You have to function in the Spirit. You have to function of the Spirit. You are united with the Spirit. You use the Spirit to discern what in you is spirit and what is soul, and you fix it up so that eventually your body can follow and be changed. Oh, you know, he says, when we see him, we do not know what we shall be, but when we see him, we shall be like him. He's going to change these vile bodies into his glorious body. And why? So that that glorious body, please just get it. God's intention was not for you to have 6 limousines and 4 BMWs and listen, have them. But his intention for you was to come into the full stature of the full measure of the Christ. Why? Why? Because the lowest of the above is higher than the highest of the beneath. So God brought that in here. This is why he said John the Baptist was baptized with the Holy Spirit from his mother's womb. And he came into this realm. and Jesus said, well, he's the biggest ever born of a woman. But in the kingdom, when you are born again, oh my word, you're bigger than John the Baptist. But now, you know, we look at people in the world that are very influential and big. How did most people, okay, I can't say that, but there's a lot of bribery and cheatery in the world. And we look at that and it impresses us. It's time that we are impressed with the spirit realm. It's time that we cherish what we carry. Because the light that shone in the beginning, the true light that has come in the world, this same light is now shone in our hearts, and it brings the illumination of the glory, of the knowledge of the glory. Then he says, the knowledge of the glory will fill the earth in Habakkuk 2. He says, run your race. What is the race? To carry this knowledge of the glory. Why? Because the earth has to be filled with the glory of God. So let's just go back, because I'm busy with the realms. We have not even touched the realms of darkness. So in the beginning, there was the realm of the Spirit. Then was created the realm of the heaven and the earth. The earth has realms of the first world, the second world, the third world. And these realms are literally described in Genesis 1. Paul says, I have been caught up to the third heaven. What is the third heaven? He wasn't caught up to sky. He wasn't caught up to space, which represents the church and the law. He wasn't caught up to that. He was caught up to the third realm, which is the heavenly realm, the throne room. He said, and I saw things that is unlawful, because Jesus Christ came and he didn't annul the law. He fulfilled the law. Christ is the end of the law to all of those that believe. So the Spirit, the heavens, and on earth, we have realms of the first world, the second world, the third world. And what are we going to step into? The fourth one, which is glory. It's going to change death into life. We have to understand what darkness is, what the pit is, what the heaven is, and what the Spirit is. The Spirit, Christ in us, is the hope of glory. This is the world that Christ brought. And what we need to do is we need to rule and reign with Christ in heavenly places until the last enemy is under our feet. Jesus did not come to condemn the earth. So are we going to stand in front of judgment? He says yes, but we're going to be in front of the judgment seat of Christ. He says, the words that I speak, they judge you already. He says, you are already condemned. This is the judgment. The light comes, but you choose darkness. Will a God of love put someone in hell? No, no, no. He died. So he loved us and he died so that we should not perish but have life. It's your choice. And this is the reason why the Bible says, he that winneth souls is wise, because you literally pluck them from hell and push them into the river. They are like burning wood that is plucked from hell. We have to save souls. Now, please, all these things that I'm preaching has got nothing to do with your salvation. There's people that don't even understand anything about theology or times or seasons or anything. This has all to do with the purposes of God. And unfortunately, or fortunately for you, we live in the time where it's the climax of the ages has been there. It was the first day, the second day. We are in the time where the consummation of all things is going to happen. And this is why we need to understand that we can step into our purpose of God. We're not going to be like the people that says, the rain has come, the harvest is gone, and we are not saved. I can hear the sound of abundance of rain. Our greatest day is right around the corner, where the church are going to shine as lights. The city set on a hill.